In her book, she says the White House was broken. This after 2 years along a president who wasn't housebroken. But she only realized this after she stopped getting paid to defend it. But like Jake Tapper's book, it's a new genre of Biden tell-alls that should be subtitled, "I had no idea because I'm severely retarded."
Think again if you believed Karine Jean-Pierre had perfected the skill of using a binder and a grin to sidestep inquiries. That platform in the press room was suddenly transformed into a full-fledged comic roast by Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly. Megyn is tearing through the spin like a caffeine-fueled buzzsaw, while Gutfeld is spitting gags more quickly than she can turn the pages. What about Karine? As if someone had just asked her a follow-up question, she is blinking. What did they say that caused her to lose her temper? Oh, it's hilarious.
World, who have literally voted until this last election, which put me over the edge on voting more for Republicans. But literally now I've voted in 9 presidential elections. God, I'm getting old. And I voted, it was 4 and 4 Dems, 4 Republican votes up until I voted for Trump again this last time. So it was 5 Republicans, 4 Dems. I've been a registered Democrat. I've been a registered Republican. And now I've been a registered independent for 17 years. That's what an actual political independent looks like. Not like somebody who worked for 2 Democrat administrations until they got the stank of desperation all over them. And she ran for the hills trying to pretend she knows.
Seriously brutal. Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly would win gold at the Olympics if sarcasm were a sport. Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary who appears to handle queries like grenades, pulling the pin and then throwing them back to reporters in the hopes that someone else will jump on it, was their target this week. Let's face it, Karine's press conferences have evolved into a type of avant-garde performance art, where it seems quite optional to openly respond to a question. The unchallenged master of cable humor masquerading as commentary, Greg Gutfeld, had a field day. Karine's most recent briefing was essentially handled by him like an improv night at a failed comedy club.
Applications you gotta fill out. What, do you think I meant vaginas?
Ew.
Right. Disgusting people. But now everyone says she's incompetent and lazy. You know, after they called me racist for saying that. That's not why I'm racist.
Nope.
Only that no one was laughing with her. Just at her, over and over, and with ever-increasing force. Karine became a tragicomic character as a result of his mocking monologue, wandering the remains of reason and consistency. Karine's enthusiasm at the podium is like someone attempting to explain difficult calculus while being pursued by bees. What about Greg? He simply turned up the music, put on a sarcasm CEO fedora, and doused the dumpster fire with gasoline. Megyn Kelly, on the other hand, who has perfected the art of grinning while tearing someone apart with 1,000 small...
But really, they're just jealous. These colleagues also played along with a hoax, saying that Joe was doing 75 one-arm push-ups while finishing the New York Times crossword puzzle all before breakfast. They're just pissed she beat them to the publisher's office and to the bank. I expect to see more of these books because of the lifeboats these rats will use to try and escape the shipwreck of the past 4 years. So KJP is now an independent because apparently pretending to be apolitical sells better than admitting your last job was gaslighting America.
Small verbal paper cuts used a more surgical strategy. Megyn brought the scalpel and a powerful microscope to magnify the most ridiculous things Karine attempted to pass off as serious opinion, even if Greg arrived with a sledgehammer. Like a pathologist analyzing a frog with 3 livers, Megyn Kelly analyzed Karine's briefing, highlighting not only incompetence, but also the ridiculous theater of it all. Karine was excellent if she was trying out for a political clueless remake. When Karine attempted to explain inflation as a TikTok trend, Greg Gutfeld, on the other hand, lost it. He made fun of her financial fiction guide, which holds that a declining dollar is only on a summer diet and that high prices indicate strength. His parody followed, complete with theatrical pauses, illogical reasoning, and lengthy responses that leave one feeling bewildered and...
That's how bad the stink is when one of its worst offenders is fleeing this rancid armpit called the Democrat Party. So should we buy her book? Well, only if your family and friends have a sense of humor. It'll make a great gag gift. You know, like fake dog or rubber vomit. Only the stench here, it's
guilty. Like an etiquette instructor describing why using a fork to consume soup should result in expulsion from dinner parties, Megyn Kelly adopted a more cerebral approach. The cosmic punchline, "The president has been clear, let me circle back, and we're working on that," are some of Karine's best lines, according to her. By the end, Karine had fallen into utter mocking after metaphorically tripping over her own binder. The tone of Megyn? All business, half stand-up comedian, half frustrated instructor. What about Greg? His next parody, which featured a goldfish wearing a jacket, was more succinct, more logical, and strangely more adept at evading.
Fans are already sharpening their crayons. And it's just what we need, a tell-all from the woman who spent 2 years telling everyone that Joe just had a cold and not rigor mortis. If the title hadn't already been taken, it should be called Art of the Steal. KJP also says she's leaving the Democratic Party. I say God bless her. Not many people have the patience to wait in a line.
Inquiries. They even applauded it. Like a translator for political bullshit, Greg deciphered Karine's briefings. "We're prioritizing the American people" actually means "we're dodging blame." Megyn likened her responses to putting together IKEA furniture using bits from bananas and pig Latin directions. Greg claimed that even her jackets were roasted. They're selected by rotating a wheel-marked dystopian librarian. What about the chart? Karine's answer rate is displayed as a zeroed-out MS Paint graph with sporadic spikes marked "accidentally answered." Hilarious and brutal. Karine was dubbed the first press secretary to diminish public understanding by Megyn, who likened her communication abilities to a GPS that continues to indicate
Karine Jean-Pierre reinventing herself as an independent. This from, it's everywhere, but this is just from the New York Post right up, that she claims she's no longer a Democrat. She's coming out with a book, a memoir, hyping, says the New York Post, a, quote, broken Biden administration. They go on to say that it's a tell-all she's working on now, and it's going to be a look inside. Independent is the name of it. A look inside a broken White House, outside the party lines, due in October. Hachette, which is publishing it, says Jean-Pierre did not come to her decision to be an independent lightly.
Calculating, even after you're parked. Greg described it as verbal jazz that is so crazy that even jazz players would become disoriented. Her briefings, he joked, felt like phonetically memorized bullet points. According to Megyn, we may be seeing the first AI press secretary go awry. Greg imitated her existential fear and fake confidence. Megyn watched the PowerPoint train accident unfold while sipping her tea. Greg joked that before serving appetizers, Karine, who was running a restaurant, would need to have
this book. She may focus on her ire on figures aside from Biden. Quote, she has served 2 American presidents, Obama and Biden. She takes us through the 3 weeks that led to Biden's abandoning his bid for a second term and the betrayal by the Democrat Party that led to his decision. The tease goes, and she's going to regale us with a hard-hitting yet hopeful critique defining what it means to be part of the growing percentage of our fractured electorate that is independent, why it can be worthwhile to carve a political space more loyal to personal beliefs than a party affiliation, and what questions you need to ask yourself to determine where you fit politically. You've got to be
stakeholder alignment. There is just confusion on the menu no one eats. Left is subjective. We're analyzing the map. Megyn picture her saying as she gave instructions. The traveler? Lost and
hate her. She's not in any position to be a connector of our 2-party system, and assuming she could be is just ego. It's so good. They're all ripping on her, some by name, saying how dumb she was, how she's a joke, and literally nobody's buying her ability to be an independent connector who somehow is going to heal the partisan breach. Stu, back to my original point when her soundbite was playing of how those were all lies.
And now questioning reality. Greg's sense of humor? It's noisy, untidy, and brutally effective, like a chainsaw at a ballet. Calm, deadly, and graceful, Megyn delivered her burns like a criminal sipping champagne. You didn't see her satire.
I have to say goodbye to Karine Jean-Pierre. I'm sorry, guys, but she's going. It's like, this is the way it's going to, it's the one sadness of Trump winning because let's face it, we're going to miss her a little bit. I kind of missed her word salads. In fact, I'll start with the word salads just so you too will be feeling the pangs that I've been feeling. Here's a little montage of some of the best/worst of Karine Jean-Pierre at the podium.
It is hard for us to keep up with this president. What I see is a strong, resolute president. We're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos.
By the way, used to make beer brewed here. It is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
Until she smirked. It was so clean. The chamber was burnt and frigid at the end. Karine's briefings, which Greg described as performance art, were intended to confound rather than to educate. Megyn concurred, saying that it's now bureaucratic absurdism on repeat rather than politics. Even as
she realizes she was carrying water for a man whose brain was as wet as his pants. Remember, this is the same broad who stared America in the face and said this.
Comments were made in that report about that, obviously about his memory that we don't believe lives in reality. 80's the new 40, didn't you hear? He is as sharp as ever. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith. And it's not true, right? The president wasn't wandering.
Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day?
Absolutely not.
He's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him.
show graphics participated. Megyn's team merely questioned, what even was that? While Greg's crew dubbed it a masterclass in evasive rambling. Greg closed with a circus music montage of Karine's most outrageous.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I just don't have anything. I don't have anything. We don't have.
We could have kept going because let's not forget when he thought that the dead Congresswoman was alive. Where's Jackie? She was just top of mind. She was top of mind. That's what Karine Jean-Pierre tried to tell us. And the obsessive note reading, right? She could not do the job without reading for the first 2 years of it. She got a little better on that towards the end.
Outrageous moments, freezing her in mid-blink as if her brain had just fallen out. Megyn just murmured, "This is our press secretary," and raised an eyebrow. No yelling, simply a roast that is both graceful and severe. Karine Jean-Pierre was the main course of this satirical meal.
Of course, what she's referring to, Link, is the fact that she's black and she's a lesbian. Like, this is what the left celebrates. That's her history-making role that she hopes everybody will find inspirational. Like lesbian children were growing up all over the country thinking, I'm never going to be press secretary because I'm a lesbian. I mean, it's just so... What? Right. Are we in 1950?
Not a slaughter. It was too simple, like correcting someone who spells cat with a Q for Greg and Megyn to roast her out of malice. The spectators? Confusion, laughter, and unity. And Kelly and Gutfeld will be waiting, mocking Karine as long as she continues to spin.